Look, I got distributors. So welcome back to another fine episode of Tech Tuesday, everyone. I'm Tim. This is Joe.
Hello.
This is our sales director. This guy's actually pretty good at what he does. So I can't say as much for me, but I'm just a big old fat nerd with a laptop. So today we're going to be going over some of the Facebook questions we got going on. I got a couple distributors here. This is cool. I got the Aces brand, and then I've got brand X. Y'all, everybody knows who this is, but neat. So, hey, Jackson Sparrow on our Facebook, Aces EFI Owners and Tech Group, which I'm happy we did this group because, you know, other than some of the more colorful, interesting comments, there's actually some pretty good bangers in there, too, that I like. And sometimes I take it upon myself to answer them. I've been real busy lately, so I've kind of left that up to the office cats to do. Let's see, Jackson Sparrow. Just wiring up my fans on a Jackpot system. I'm assuming the fans are ground trigger, not positive trigger. Correct. That's correct. Literally, the ground side of that, to activate the coil on that relay is going to be run through the ECU. It's going to have constant power to the other side of it. So whenever you make that little trigger in the ECU, it sends power to the appropriate electrical pipe out to your fan or what have you. Some people use them for different reasons, not always fans, but neat. Use your imagination. Sometimes you can actually have some pretty cool stuff happen. So, Joe, from your perch way up in the ivory tower of Aces, dealing with web WD people and dealers and tuners and all that stuff, what's like the most common question you get? I mean, from the who's who of who's dealing with Aces.
Probably the most common question I get is what makes us better than the competition.
Oh, well, that's deeply rooted in the fact that we all choose to be here. Like every one of us choose to be here. This ain't just work. We could all just go get jobs. This is a whole different kind of thing. Me and one of my techs was having a conversation in the parking lot the other day about, you know, the people that are true car nuts and passionate about the whole thing is you're at work, you do car stuff all day, you talk about tech all day, you go home, you're still doing tech. You're still working on your car in the garage. You're thinking about your car. You're trying to justify how am I going to get this Pro Charger on a budget that doesn't support a Pro Charger? What can I sell and what can I trade, you know?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like a bad habit, but it's a whole lot of fun. Michael J. Parker. My GPS says signal weak. What can I do to get it to connect to the handheld place modules? In front window, rear window, like the instruction says, only had it connect one time. Those things are weird. You plug them in if you're setting still, they will connect, but where you're inside of a car with a handheld, it's hard to get that GPS signal in there. So one of them will go kind of inside of the car. One will go outside of the car. You can put them on the windows or whatever. That'll help promote the signal. But it's a signal promoter, so it doesn't physically hook to any of the connections on the handheld or on the screen. But when you start moving around, it calibrates itself and then starts promoting that signal. So like a few hundred feet after you start driving, it'll give you what that speed is, unless you live like in a really mountainous area where a geographical limitation is present. Like here, we're between two massive mountains. So there's only certain times of the day you'll get GPS signal even on your phone. And that's pretty accurate. So we never hear people in Arizona complaining about it, but we get folks in like West Virginia that's like, I got no signal on my phone or my handheld. I'm like, I don't blame you. There's no GPS to be had there, no matter how much of a amplifier you got. So yeah, give it a drive and see what it is, and then make sure you're not in any kind of weird geographical deficiency there with a lot of mountains or tall buildings, antennas and stuff. What do you want to talk about, Joe? What else? What other kind of things pop into your mind that people want to know, other than what makes us different?
The subject of tech comes up a lot of times. People that have dealt with our tech department are impressed with their knowledge, and the knowledge here is not just from a classroom.
No.
All of the techs here have installed, uninstalled, reinstalled so many systems that they're very familiar with every little aspect of it. If you're having this strange problem that you've never seen before, well, chances are pretty good they have seen it and have a very good idea what the problem is, what the solution is, and can get you going quickly. And that's something you're just not going to see from some of the other companies.
That's pretty accurate. We here in tech have seen a lot of weird stuff and done a lot of weird things. I get a lot of questions on these Hall effect distributors when it comes to letting the magic smoke out. Somebody will have this and it'll be hooked up to like a sniper or something like that. Bang. And say they decide to switch their sniper out, going with a different horsepower, whatever it is, or something happened to it and they're like, I'm just going to go with the Aces unit because it worked very cost effective and it still works. There's only a couple things you got to do. One is change out where it's stabbed in for timing, which is still going to be, don't use a plastic clear cap, just stab it in, and then you'll line up number 1, and it'll be within a certain area of the window. Luckily, with our TBI units, it only reads the rising edge of the windows for the sensor, so it could literally be positioned anywhere in there. It treats it like it's a magnetic, but it's real dumb and real smart at the same time. For hooking it up, there's I can't remember what page it's on, but there's one that's a 3-wire connection. You got to switch 12 volts red wire. The ground, literally, I just usually ground them to the back of the cylinder head. I hook this red switch 12 volt up to our V main, and then we got a signal wire which will hook to the gray wire, coil negative. And in the handheld, I just mark it down as CDI because it's a square 12 volt wave, the same thing as a CDI box. Just like ours, right here, they're extremely similar with how they're triggered. And the wiring is the same thing. We got a red, a black, and a green. So switch 12 volt. Then we got the ground, and then we got the signal wire. That's see, when I use it with ours, I use, because it's weather pack, I use a little weather pack thing that I built out of a weather pack connector kit, and I can just jumper it out, and it's all good. But that's kind of the skinny of it. I'll be releasing a document somewhere on the internet about this, but maybe I'll do an install video.
That'd be good.
Yeah, because it don't matter if it's our Gambler or somebody else's, MSD or Holly's or whoever's using the same 7+1 reluctor setup. If you treat them all the same, they'll all be the same because they're all, at their core, the same thing. Bradley Walker, drive-by-wire, Jackpot 4.8 Gen 4 SS2 cam. Won't start or idle without throttle manipulation. Mild cam setting. Won't start in either of the 2 settings. Found a ground I missed. It was for the knock harness. That's inconsequential. AFR keeps spiking high. Pulled the intakes so I could check injector and coil harnesses, and their grounds are good too. Spiking AFR 2. Switch it over to 1 wideband. It'll read off the driver's bank, AFR number 1, just in case you got a weird exhaust leak or it's misfiring or something stupid like that. And also, there's a little picture down here too. Let's see what we got here. AFR spiking at 44.2. That's cool. Looks like it's got a little bit of RPM in there. Step is 108. Pulse width. See the voltage on wideband 2. It's showing it's like 250. That's pretty high. Let's see. What's your injector pulse width? Look at the injector pulse width. That's the root problem right there. 7.2. Right, and it's pulling out 10%. So you probably got O2 sensors seeing some atmosphere. Number 2 looks like it's bad. I hope you're not running open headers. That'll also cause all this headache too with exhaust reversion. But I would go clear out your learning table, switch it over to a single O2, and then I would go into your VE table and knock that thing down about 30% to see if it gives it less of a headache, because 7 milliseconds of pulse width is a whole lot. So you're going to have to give it air to let it run. It's going to be really low RPMs and real chuggy, and it'll also smoke your other good O2 sensor when it's doing that if you got too much fuel going on. So I would change it back to a stock setting for your cam selection and manipulate a few things. Make sense, Joe?
Makes sense. And you mentioned the open headers. Ran into one of those the other day, and it's a pretty common issue.
Yeah.
Somebody complains about the O2 sensors are, reading extremely lean, but it's dumping all this fuel and burning their eyes and everything. And a lot of times you determine that, okay, they've got open headers or they don't have enough pipe behind the O2. I mean, what do you recommend, like 18 inches?
About 18 inches from where the sensor is placed, about maybe 4 inches from the collector flange itself. Downstream, not 4 inches upstream towards the motor, away from the motor, downstream. Otherwise, there's a lot of turbulence. What kind of like, is it just really stuff from like tuners or just your basic traffic dealers? It's like, hey, you know, what will this work on? What won't this work on? How is the system comparable to something? Some stuff like that.
A lot of it is just honestly kind of amazement at what we're offering and the pricing.
That's a common thing I hear.
You know, they're very used to paying a high price for all this stuff, and you know, you start building a system. You know, all the fuel system and ignition and bigger displays and all of that. It easily gets into thousands of dollars with most systems, and really adds up fast. And with ACES, we're able to keep the pricing, you know, down to a more reasonable level. And obviously, we do a lot of giveaways, a lot of dash upgrades to a 7-inch, so you're not, you know, squinting trying to look at a, you know, like a competitor's 3.5-inch screen or even a 5-inch screen. But you know, you can get a 7-inch for worst case at a very reasonable price. You're not talking, you know, $1,000 or more for an upgraded screen. And, you know, with that pricing, you know, does come some skepticism. You know, people say, oh, this couldn't be as good. Well, it is. And in a lot of cases, it's better. It's not even just comparable. It's better. Better design, better components, better finishes. Mm-hmm. You know, you open up a competitor's packaging, for example, you know, you get some beat up regular cardboard box and, you know, maybe some kind of packing material in there to keep it from bouncing around too much.
Or it's in a plastic bag.
Yeah, or in a plastic bag. You open up ours and, you know, as a dealer told me yesterday, it's like you're opening a box from Tiffany's. And, you know, nice cut black foam. You probably know who that was.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a really nice presentation. You start looking at the finishes and noticing that instead of having some, you know, crappy gold iridized finish or some, you know, lesser quality finishes on linkages and things like that, I mean, it's got sort of a nice brushed appearance. I mean, it looks like a showpiece, and that's important.
True. Our linkage is stainless.
Yeah.
And we didn't go with the manufacturer on that. We didn't go to like an automotive bracket maker. We went to something that was a little more super secret, but higher quality than just your standard issue, cheaply stamped out like our throttle linkage itself. Like that was actually very specifically made for our systems. Like that's custom just to ours, and it's made out of a very certain material, and it's stamped a certain way. And I think it's actually CNC bent. I don't think it's stamped, actually. But nevertheless, that's a stainless bit. That's not going to rust and tarnish and carry on. Our coating on it, I think that's actually a type of Cerakoting on our kill shots. So
yeah, very high quality finish.
Big fan.
You know, in a past position with a competitor, I remember people complaining about finishes. Like, oh, this thing looks like, you know, well, looks awful. And and this is a show car, and I can't have people seeing this. And, you know, that's, I'll be honest, one of the first things, you know, beyond, you know, speaking to the management and ownership at this company, that's one of the first things that really won me over was just looking at how nice the product looks.
So, anywho, you know, thank you for joining us on this another adventure of Tech Tuesday here. You know, I'm glad we could do some internet comments, get to talk to Joe, get to meet Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So, faces to names as it goes. I'm Tim, this is Joe. We do stuff. But if you like our content, give it a like, comment, subscribe, message us, email us, you know, tech support at ACES-EFI, our customer support, or, you know, I don't know what your email is, Joe.
Joe at ACESEFI.com.
Oh, I wouldn't have gave out your whole thing, but it is what it is. That's all right. We like people being inquisitive. So if you got questions about a system, will it work for your application? How do you hook up a wire? Don't guess at stuff, really is what I'm saying. You know, if you got a question about, hey, I don't want to put this wire in the wrong spot, or I'm questionable about this stuff, just give us a holler. there's somebody here that has the answer for you. If not, they'll come to me. And if I ain't got it, I'll figure it out. I'll go do it myself most times. So we're doing this for the people after all. I mean, this is really what we're truly passionate about. So I'm Tim. This is Joe.
I'm Joe.
We'll see ya.